She walked in wearing no brand, no makeup, and no spotlight. Security mocked her, the crowd sneered, and in seconds she was dragged out like a nobody. But what happened next? It made global headlines. Because the woman they humiliated was the very legend who built the show they worshipped. The crowd shimmered with diamonds and designer logos, a symphony of stilettos clicking against marble floors. Flashbulbs flared. Perfume filled the air. Outside the grand glass entrance of Fashion Week's most exclusive night, a woman approached slowly, almost invisible in the chaos. She wore no brand, no name tag, no shimmering gown, just a plain, linen dress that looked pressed but faded with time. Her shoes were soft, weathered leather, comfortable, practical, and utterly unremarkable among the sea of luxury heels. No stylist accompanied her. No makeup artist followed with touch-up kits. No camera chased her. She walked alone. On either side of the entrance, influencers and models posed beneath flashing lights. One of them glanced over and smirked. A laugh escaped, loud and sharp. "Did someone bring their maid?" she whispered to her friend, not bothering to lower her voice. A few others turned, eyebrows raised, lips curling. Phones came out, photos taken without consent, captions forming before she even reached the door. A well-dressed man stepped in front of her just before she could enter. Broad-shouldered, security badge gleaming. "Sorry, ma'am," he said with forced politeness. "Guests only." She reached into her bag, pulled out a folded invitation. No holograms, no custom print, just a white card with elegant ink. The man barely looked at it. "You're not on the list," he said, his tone hardening. "Back of house is that way." He motioned toward the alley. She raised her eyes calm and steady. "I'm not with the staff," she replied. "I designed this event." A pause, then a scoff. "Right? And I'm Armani." Someone behind her giggled. Someone else filmed. The security man waved over another guard. "Let's clear the entrance, please," he muttered. "We've got enough chaos already." The second guard didn't ask questions. He took her by the arm, gently at first, then more firmly when she didn't move. "This is Fashion Week, sweetheart," he said. "You're at the wrong place." The first guard leaned in mockingly. "You really thought you could just walk in like this?" She didn't flinch. She didn't fight. She looked at the glass doors, at the reflection of glittering guests inside, sipping champagne and trading air kisses. Her fingers tightened around her sketchbook, worn at the edges. She tucked it back into her bag without a word. The murmurs grew louder. Someone tweeted a photo. "Fashion Week fails." This woman tried to crash the runway faced with tears of joy. The post began gaining likes within minutes. No, one noticed the embossed initials on the edge of her sketchbook. No one cared that the linen she wore was hand-stitched, designed by a forgotten master of form and simplicity. All they saw was someone who didn't belong. A luxury car pulled up, and everyone turned their attention away. A celebrity couple stepped out. Cameras swiveled. The woman at the door vanished from their minds in an instant. She stood there quietly, now ignored, now unseen, like a shadow left behind. And then she turned and walked away. Not defeated, not ashamed, just done. The wind picked up a corner of her dress as she moved down the steps. The linen caught the light for a second, revealing tiny hand-sewn patterns along the hem, patterns known only to a few in the world of haute couture, ones that hadn't been seen in years. Back at the door, security resumed their post. The guards didn't speak of her again. To them, she was just another nobody trying to pretend, just another face out of place. What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the show inside had already lost something it could never reclaim. And the woman they had dragged away? She was the reason they were all there to begin with. The moment her arm was gripped tighter, the whispers turned to stares. The guards didn't raise their voices. They didn't need to. Their uniforms, their earpieces, their silent authority said enough. One pulled the invitation from her hand, crumpled it without reading, and dropped it to the floor like trash. The crowd, now entertained, circled like sharks around blood. Phones pointed like weapons. Someone stop her. A voice shouted playfully. "She's gonna steal the silverware." Laughter, loud and cruel. A flash of red light blinked above her head, a live stream. An influencer with glitter lips and 3 million followers had her camera angled perfectly. Y'all, some random just tried to walk into the front row, dressed like it's laundry day. The comments poured in instantly. OMG. Is this a skit? No way. Get her out of there. She said nothing. Her fingers clutched the strap of her bag tighter as she was pulled back. Her body resisted with dignity, not defiance. She took one step back, then another. But they didn't want steps, they wanted a spectacle. The second guard moved behind her, both arms now restrained, her silence mistaken for shame. "Let's go, lady," one said through clenched teeth, pushing forward. A heel caught on the edge of the carpet. Her balance faltered. Her bag slipped off her shoulder and hit the marble floor with a dull thud. It spilled open. Papers slid out. Aged cream-colored pages covered in detailed hand-drawn designs. Some curled at the edges. A few boring stains. One had a signature in looping cursive, partially smudged, but unmistakable to the right eyes. No one looked down. A heel crunched the edge of one sheet as the crowd moved in closer. A camera flash lit the space for a moment, capturing the chaos without understanding it. A moment later, the sketchbook was kicked to the side by accident. The guards didn't bother to pick it up. "She's got notes," someone said mockingly. "Trying to pitch her line? How adorable." Another voice cut through the crowd, this time sharp, loud, dripping in venom. "Wrong runway, Grandma." Laughter erupted again. She was halfway down the steps now. The guards had released her, satisfied she was out of frame. But the audience wasn't done yet. People followed with their phones, filming her exit, catching the fall of her bag, the slow bend of her knees as she tried to collect her things with trembling hands. A pair of glossy platform heels stepped right in front of her. "Hey," said the influencer, still live streaming. "Tell TikTok what inspired your look? Homeless chic?" A few clapped. Someone threw a used coffee cup in her direction. Still, she didn't speak. Her eyes moved, scanning the ground. She reached for her sketchbook, fingers brushing the dirt on its cover. She tucked it away slowly, carefully, no rush, no flinching. She stood. The entrance behind her sparkled with light and laughter, none of it for her. Champagne flutes clinked. Music swelled from within. A man in a silver blazer gave a dramatic speech about vision and creativity, completely unaware that the very soul of the show had just been pushed out the front gate. Outside, the crowd lost interest. The drama had ended. There was nothing left to mock. Just a woman walking away with quiet steps, as if none of it mattered. As if she hadn't been shoved aside, laughed at, stepped on. Someone posted the clip with the caption, "Some lady just got dragged out of Fashion Week. Lol." The comments followed. Why'd she even try? Serves her right. Security goals. Not one person asked who she was. Not one person noticed the signature on the sketches. Not one person realized they had just humiliated the reason they were even gathered. She didn't look back. Not once. And as the doors closed behind her and the next celebrity car pulled up, her name hadn't been spoken, but her absence was about to speak volumes. Backstage hummed with tension, disguised as glamour. Stylists zipped dresses, assistants darted between racks, and models stood still as statues while makeup artists dusted their faces with gold. Every second was choreographed until suddenly it wasn't. The head coordinator stared at the final lineup board, frowning. There were 20 looks accounted for. Only 19 dresses on the rack. A stylist flipped hangers with increasing urgency. 1, 2, 3, 19. No finale dress. The most important piece of the show, the one that would close the runway, the one whispered about for months, teased in secret meetings, hidden from press previews, was nowhere to be found. Phones buzzed. Whispers turned to mutters. Mutters became panic. The coordinator barked orders, snapping at a junior in turn. Check delivery. Check again. Where is look 20? An assistant with trembling hands scrolled through emails, then glanced at her phone, then paled. There's no confirmation. It never arrived. Silence cracked through the noise like lightning. Someone mumbled, "It's her piece." Another voice, sharp with disbelief, Miss Fontaine's design? Eyes widened, brows furrowed, heads turned. That name, not often spoken aloud, not in recent years. It carried weight, mystery, reverence. A designer who hadn't shown her face in public in nearly a decade, but whose work still dictated the direction of every major house. Livia Fontaine, fashion's ghost, the genius who walked away from the world she built until tonight. The final piece was hers, not inspired by her, not tribute, hers. And now it was missing. A model removed her earrings slowly, as if no longer needed. Another stepped off the platform, kicking off her stilettos. "I'm not walking without that dress," she muttered. "She created this show," someone whispered. "The entire theme, the entire arc. It ends with her." That was the deal. Chaos stirred beneath the polished surface. The music playlist was already cued. The audience had taken their seats. But something was wrong, and every soul backstage could feel it. A senior producer stormed in, voice clipped, demanding answers. The room stood still. "Where's Miss Fontaine?" No one answered. Another assistant finally spoke. "I haven't seen her. Not tonight. Check the green room." She never showed. The producer's voice cracked. She sent her sketches. She approved the models. She confirmed her attendance. A third assistant blinked. "I saw someone who looked like her. At the front. Earlier." The producer's face went still. "When? Maybe 20 minutes ago? Where is she now?" She was stopped by security. A deadly silence fell over the room. Another voice cut through. "You're saying they kicked Livia Fontaine out?" No one replied. Someone pulled out their phone, opened social media. It took seconds to find the video. Grainy, vertical footage of an older woman being escorted down the steps. Laughter in the background. A mocking voice saying, "Wrong runway, grandma." The producer stared at the screen. His hands trembled. He turned pale. He recognized the sketchbook clutched in her hand. He'd seen it before. Once, years ago, behind locked doors in a glass case. A design journal so legendary, it was said to hold the foundations of modern fashion. He didn't speak. He just watched the video again and again and again as the clock ticked closer to showtime, and the masterpiece meant to close the night sat somewhere on a sidewalk, forgotten, disrespected, humiliated. The room around him buzzed with nervous energy. Lights flickered. Models stood waiting. But none of it mattered anymore. Because without her, the show didn't just lack a finale. It lacked a soul. The moment realization hit, panic spread faster than wildfire. The producer's voice sliced through every hallway, every channel, every earpiece. "Find her. Bring her back. Now." No hesitation. No debate. Luxury cars screeched out of the underground lot, engines roaring, their destinations uncertain. Just find the woman the world had thrown out minutes ago. Inside those sleek black cars sat assistants trembling under pressure, drivers weaving through traffic with urgency, each moment burning like a matchstick. Phone calls were made. Descriptions were sent. The woman in the long beige coat. The one with the old sketchbook. The one they had publicly humiliated. At the venue, the crowd buzzed with confusion. The runway lights remained dim. The music never started. Backstage had gone eerily quiet. Influencers whispered to each other. Editors flipped through their pamphlets again. Where's the opening? Why hasn't the show begun? It's been 20 minutes. The live streams paused. Something was off. And then the security radios crackled with static. We found her. A car door opened slowly at the curb outside. The same security that had dragged her away now stood in a trembling line, their polished shoes fixed to the pavement. The one who crumpled her invitation couldn't meet her eyes. His voice cracked under pressure, barely above a whisper. We're so sorry, Miss Fontaine. We didn't know." She didn't speak. She simply adjusted the strap of her bag, the corner of her sketchbook still peeking out. Her heels clicked once on the marble as she stepped forward. The crowd that had mocked her minutes ago turned silent. No cameras, no laughter, just the sound of realization hanging in the air like thunder. Someone dropped their phone. Someone else gasped, covering their mouth. It wasn't the dress that made people stare now, it was the aura, the silent command of a woman wronged, walking through the very space that tried to erase her. She didn't walk faster. She didn't stop. She moved with the kind of stillness that made noise feel disrespectful. Inside, the crowd parted like the sea. Paparazzi who had snubbed her outside now raised their cameras like worship. The same influencer who called her grandma scrambled to stand, her voice trembling. "Miss Fontaine, can I get a photo?" No answer. Not even a glance. Only the soft rustle of paper as she pulled her sketchbook from her bag and handed it to the stunned producer. Every page was there. Every detail. Every line that shaped the collection, the finale, the vision, the legacy. Untouched, unapologetic. And for the first time that night, the fashion world understood that it hadn't merely made a mistake. It had nearly erased its own history. The fabric shimmered like morning frost, delicate, dangerous, impossible to look away from. Every stitch told a story. Every thread remembered something the world had tried to forget. And in the center of it all stood the final design, still on the mannequin, untouched since it arrived under lock and key. No one had dared to dress the final model. They'd waited for her. Now, she stood in front of it, calm, precise, powerful. Fingers aged by brilliance moved over the bodice like a concert pianist recalling a song only she knew how to play. No assistants, no stylists, no cameras dared intrude. The model didn't speak. She just stood there, motionless, as the legendary hands of Livia Fontaine pulled the design into place. She adjusted the drape, realigned the collar, fastened the clasp hidden behind the embroidery. So subtle, so exact. The kind of craftsmanship fashion houses right entire seasons trying to imitate. And when she stepped back, the entire backstage exhaled. It was more than a gown. It was a resurrection. The music finally began, soft strings then rising. The lights dimmed. The curtain opened. And the final model walked. Not a single person blinked. Not one phone was lifted. For the first time in Fashion Week history, the moment wasn't documented, it was felt. The crowd didn't just watch the model. They witnessed something sacred. The walk was slow, deliberate. The dress caught light in strange, impossible ways. One moment ocean, the next fire. It was a whisper and a scream. It was elegance and defiance. It was Livia Fontaine. People rose to their feet before the model even reached the end of the runway. Some covered their mouths. Some had tears silently rolling down their cheeks. Editors who hadn't praised anything in years scribbled wildly in their notebooks. Design students gasped. Critics stood, stunned. Rivals clapped. The final step landed like thunder. And then silence. A silence louder than any applause that had come before. Then eruption. Thunderous. Relentless. Hands crashed together. Cheers broke out. The crowd chanted her name. But she didn't appear at the end of the runway. She didn't take a bow. She didn't wave. She had already left. By the time they realized it, she was at the side exit, walking slowly down the same stairs she had been dragged from. No cameras this time. No mocking voices. Just the soft sound of her heels echoing against stone and the wind brushing past the hem of her coat. She didn't look back. Not when the media called it the most iconic moment in Fashion Week history. Not when headlines splashed across every platform. Livia Fontaine's return silences the industry. She designed the show. Then she vanished. Fashion Week's greatest moment happened outside the runway. She simply walked away. Because she didn't need the spotlight. She had always been a light. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you see the world a little differently, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Expect Stories, where every tale reveals a deeper truth. Drop a comment below and let us know what part gave you goosebumps. Because here, we don't just tell stories, we live them.